This video presentation is made possible by Brewster Services Group.
Meeting to order, the LUB meeting for July 27, 2020. And the first thing I'd like to do is to read this statement. To ensure government operations continue to function openly and transparently during the COVID-19 emergency while taking measures to protect the health and safety of citizens and government officials. Governor Bill Lee issued Executive Order Number 16 on March 20, 2020, allowing governing bodies to conduct essential business by electronic means. A link to electronic meeting access and information is available online at www.loudonutilities.org. I'd like to welcome everybody here and welcome anybody that may be online with us. And if you are online, you're welcome to join in at any time. And if we have anybody in the audience that has anything they'd like to bring before the board, we'd like to hear from you now. If not, welcome everybody. Glad you're here. First thing on our agenda today is the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the minutes from the June 22nd meeting and I recommend their approval.
Okay.
Motion to receive and file. Second.
Have a motion and a second to receive and file the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, likewise. Next item on the agenda is the financial reports.
Yes. Direct your attention to the screens. We have Nicole Curtis, our finance director, provides a breakdown of current financial statements for each utility department.
These are the same numbers we looked at the workshop for the electric department. Director Farmer requested a chart showing the change in operating costs. If you'll go to the next slide. For the electric department, the blue line you see is a baseline. That's fiscal year in 2018, and the average operating cost each month in 2018 was $424,000. In 2019, that average bumped up to $417,000, and this is a rolling average, so you can notice the trend over time, and it levels off any spikes. And then for 2020, that average has dropped $380,000 per month, which is great news for the electric department to be able to recover some, establish some higher cash balances to fund the improvements that are very much needed there. If you'll go on to the next slide is the gas department. These are the same figures we looked at the workshop for May with our net incomes and operating cost totals. The monthly cost is on the next slide. Again, the blue line is just a baseline. I didn't have enough data to go further back, but in 2018, the average was $246,000 per month in operating costs. In 2019, that was $255,000, and then for 2020, we are averaging right at $254,000. So if we go ahead we have the same information for water, and go into the next one, is water has gone from $368,000 average monthly operating costs in 2018 to $384,000 in 2019 and to $396,000 in 2020. You'll see a similar depiction in the wastewater department going ahead on those monthly operating costs. Go next slide, please. Thank you. 2018 average was $289,000. 2019 monthly average was $298,000, and 2020 is tracking right along at $295,000. So we've seen significant operating cost savings in the electric department. The gas department is trending down. Water and sewer departments are holding at steady and inclining just a little bit. There's not a lot of opportunity there for cost savings. We're finding what we can. if there's any other information. I have not received any questions about the May financials, but I'm happy to take any that you have. And,
Do you have any questions?
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and second to approve the financial reports. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you again, Nicole. That's good information. Next item on the board for the board to consider is authorizing surplus of a 2006 International 4300.
Yes, the utilities received the first of the grant-funded trucks, and there's more on the way, but this is the first. And to comply with the grant, and the intent of the grant was for cleaner air, we'll put the more fuel-efficient truck in our fleet and declare the truck that it's replacing surplus. And that's the 2006 International 4300.
Make the motion.
Have a motion and a second to surplus the 4300. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next item is authorizing a contract with CTI Engineering Incorporated.
Yes, we briefed the board during our workshop, and just for the benefit of the audience and those not present at the workshop, the utility has a main water treatment plant along the Tennessee River, but separate from that, and in the Piney area of our district, there is a well supplied small water treatment plant, and it was acquired as part of our merger or acquisition of the Piney Utility District. And I think one of the reasons for that merger was just the overall inconsistency of that water supply there in Piney. Sometimes it's a rainy season, it's flushed with water. During a dry season, not so much. The question is, what do we do with it going forward? And our staff would like to have an unbiased outside set of eyes provide us an assessment and recommendation for its future operation and maintenance or not, depending on what options they're able to come up with. But that contract is here for your consideration. Again, it is with an outside firm, and it has a cost not to exceed associated with it.
Anybody have any questions? Is this something we want to do? Is this something we need to do? What do you think might be the driver on this, Ty? What's really driving us to do this?
Sure. Larry Joe Dockery, he's our staff engineer, and he's over at distribution. And what he would like to do is have a better understanding of its potential or lack of potential. And Larry, would you like to speak to that specifically?
Good afternoon.
Let's get a better feeling of why we even want to do it.
Yeah, good question. The water treatment plant at Piney is one of the older assets that we have. And we know that we need to spend a lot of money on it in the coming year, in the coming 3 years. And so to be better stewards with that money, we want to make sure that we're not overlooking something that could potentially save us money in the big picture. And so that's really the driver for this assessment from an outside consultant.
Anybody else have any questions?
So the alternatives they'll bring is
anything from, changing style of treatment to a more efficient, to maximize the output of the plant, to possibly doing away with the plant overall and just using that water somewhere else.
If we were to go through with this and they did make a recommendation for upgrading on the plant, who would oversee are we going to hire, keep that firm on to oversee that, or would we at that point turn it over to our group of engineers to oversee the implementation of what needs to be done?
It depends. It's a game plan, and we could choose to implement that in-house or continue with a CGI for a design if needed.
Anybody else? Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. Need a motion.
Well, the workshop we discussed, we're not able to do it. We're not qualified to handle the level that needs to evaluate it, so we have no alternative but go outside, I think.
I agree with that. I think the key word here might be a set of eyes that's different from what we've got here within our own organization. Somebody will come in and look at it and be totally honest about it, regardless of what the cost is going to be down the road. And at some point in time, we'll have to make a decision when we won't spend any more money on it or we don't want to spend any more money on it, and how we spend it.
But they're going to come back and tell us what we need to do to bring it to peak performance or to shut the door.
Yeah,
And then
make recommendations.
will they supply a list of needs, or will they just tell us, our employees, not us, what they need to do to correct it and bring it back?
I thought I saw
It's in your,
In the scope, it tells that.
1 or 2, I think. It's got in paragraph 3 all of the alternatives that they would provide. I think there's 4 alternatives that they would provide based upon the overall assessment.
Did you have that? Carl, did you see that?
It's in the contract, yeah. Attached to it. So basically, we're just trying to find out if there's air in the tires, and it might crank if it had a battery. Okay.
Pretty much, that's what I mean, that's pretty much what we're...
I'm just trying to figure out exactly what $10,000 can morph into.
Yeah. Well, I think they're also, I may be wrong, but I think they're also going to tell us what we need to even proceed for.
They give us their recommendation.
Yeah, this thing may be something that it's not worth putting money into. And they'll tell us that, or at least that's what I understand.
I would like to know as much as I don't want to spend any money, I think this money might be well spent, just for knowledge.
Yeah. Well, there's one good thing about it. It's not a tremendous amount of money.
No, it's not.
To get this done. And if it can help us down the road, then it, like you said, or somebody said, it's be money well spent. So.
Is there a time frame on this when they're going to look at this? Is there a time frame that they're got set?
I haven't heard of a time frame. Yes, sir.
2 months. From authorization, 2 months.
2 months. Okay. All right, man, I need a motion.
Moved to authorize the contract. I'll second.
Now, we have a motion and a second to authorize a contract with CTI Engineering Corporation to look at the Piney water plant. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, likewise. Okay. Next item is establishing the natural gas rate for August.
This is something we do every month, but I just want to reemphasize with the board that this month our formula changed, and our formula changed as a result of In-Bridge's rate action. They did a cost of service study of their own and put in for a rate action or increase with FERC. That's been approved, and that increase is accounted for inside our formula now, and that converts to a rate of $1.04 per 100 cubic feet of gas billed after August 1st, 2020.
That's up, isn't it?
It is up. It's up.
Need a motion, please.
Make the motion.
Have a motion and second. Set the gas rates for August. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Well, that takes us to other, and the first item on that is Tennessee Valley fuel cost adjustment.
The Tennessee Valley fuel cost adjustment decreased from 0.0149 to 0.0141 per kilowatt hour. That rate will result in an 83-cent decrease for each 1,000 kilowatt hours of residential customer use.
Next item is fireworks.
Yes, during your workshop, Loudon Parks and Rec Director Mark Harrell visited with you and announced the department's desire to put on a display at Riverfest this year. But he's back with us today because he's had some bad news and some good news. And Mark, you want to go into both facets of that?
It's not real bad news, but we ran into a little problem with the vendor we've used in the past last week, and discovered that he no longer can shoot the fireworks that he's been supplying us due to law changes, insurance qualifications. So we've had to go to a different supplier, which is a supplier that does them all over the world. They are licensed, insured, and it's a Class B type firework that it's going to cost us a little bit more money, but they do have all the qualifications with the state. Graylin's been on the phone with them, talking to them about their insurance, and we feel very comfortable going with this company. The additional cost would be $5,000 instead of $3,000, we think. They were supposed to send a proposal to us today, and I haven't gotten it yet. I've been on the phone with them trying to get it worked out. They're the largest in the world, so they're very busy. Even with COVID, he said their business has been well. It's pyro shows out of La Follette, Tennessee, and everybody's heard of them. They do Boomsday in Knoxville. They do Rockin' the Docks. They do Sweetwaters. They do Farragut's. They do everybody in the community, Kingston. So they're well known. They're a good company, but because they are qualified to do this, that's why we're paying a little more than what the previous guy was doing it for.
You said 5,000, is that 10,000 total? Or?
That's correct. What they do is they charge so much per minute, and again, I apologize, I say Class B fireworks. They're actually doing what's called a traditional firework. We can't really do a Class B firework because of this case in Tate and Lyle. Class B would probably reach Tate and Lyle if they had a disaster, so they would do a traditional, which is in between what we have been shooting, which is Class C. It's a consumer grade. And the Class B, it will not reach across the river if they had a disaster in this case, or Tate and Lyle. And it's traditionally been $750 a minute. And but they're working, since this is our first time, to help us out a little bit, and that's what the cost has been negotiated. We thought 10 minutes would be about as long. they recommend 5 minutes. Knoxville Smokies, if you've been to a fireworks show there, it's 5 minutes long. Sweetwater, I just went to theirs, it's 5 minutes long. Rockin' the Docks is a little more than that, but they pay quite a bit more money than that as well. So we've asked them to do a 10-minute show, and so they're working on that. I don't think it'll be any more than $5,000 for the utility share and $5,000 on the city side as well. That would be a maximum we're asking for. We're trying our darndest to keep it within this $3,000 to $4,000 range.
When will you know that exact price?
I apologize, Gene. He told me today. I was on the phone with him again Friday, and they have a lot of salespeople, and it's up to our sales rep, believe it or not. So he's the one that's kind of dropped the ball, getting back in touch, and I think a little late finding out. We can commit to this $3,000, and I can come back as late as next month if we need to bump it up a little bit if you feel more comfortable doing that. Try to hold them to that $3,000 mark.
How long have we been doing this?
It's their 12th year.
12th year.
Apologize, 13th year.
Really?
Riverfest, this is a ninth Riverfest, but we've done, this same company's been doing it for 12 years, 4th of July.
I just really hate we're not going to have that hot dog contest this year, because I really feel like that we were coming after the council and mayor this year. We've been prepping for this.
Not even sure we have the trophy anymore, Bart.
It's easy to brag when you know you ain't doing it. That's kind of why I have my chest out.
Any more questions? Again, we can hold this number if you feel comfortable doing that tonight and vote on this, and if we have to come back next month, we can.
Well, just bring us back any additional
Okay.
that it might be.
Okay.
And we'll see where it goes from there.
All right.
But I hate it because we lost the same outfit we had, you know. Did I understand you say this is the group that's out of La Follette?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they're huge. And explain a little more why we lost the other group is the gentleman that we bought the fireworks from is a distributor. So he was coming down and shooting those fireworks. He didn't have to have a license to shoot those fireworks. The state and insurance has changed that requirement. So the person he was buying, the supplier, will no longer sell him fireworks that he can shoot. So he ran into an insurance problem. He's very honest with us about it. And he wanted to do it without insurance, but we can't take that risk. Right, Mark?
That's right.
Well, I'm sure this group will do a good job. They do everywhere else they go, you know. They do a good job. So, glad you could get them.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Manager Ross, do you have anything else for us?
Well, I thought I'd provide a Tellico Village Property Owners Association water contract update. For the benefit of those present and those listening at home, you know, when I first came to work here, this was presented to me as one of several legacy issues that had challenges and opportunities associated with it. And at the time, it was presented to me as something that needed to be worked on and needed to be improved upon. We set forth in that direction with the help of many legal, engineers, accountants, and we've been in talks for many months now, and we've reached the point where we're starting to produce drafts. Those drafts have been distributed to you. Most recently, we have a revision concerning the exhibits. The exhibits concern improvements that were contemplated in our cost of service study and those that were not contemplated in our cost of service study. We've been over those exhibits with you. We have another meeting, our next meeting with TVPOA tomorrow at noon, but what I'd like to do is just request your feedback to see where you are with the current draft and the improvement exhibits associated with it, and just see how far apart you think we are, you know, as we continue these talks.
Shoot, boys, shoot.
Did we get a copy of the last draft that came out right? There were changes to us.
Those, putting Exhibit A and B together, that was redlined, and yes, that was distributed to you. And I did meet individually with Mr. Farmer. He had good feedback on having flexibility in the timing of future cost of service studies. And we thought about that more, we talked about it more, and we're going to go in and update that language so that it's specified that is true and correct and possible, and that so there won't be any future speculation over it. We want a good document that won't be questioned a decade from now.
We're still looking at this for a contract with Exhibit A and Exhibit B both.
That's really one of the final sticking points. Of course, we have the improvements contemplated within our cost of service study that are worked inside the rates, and Exhibit B is the list of exhibits not contemplated, and the question of how to pay for that has come up, and we're working through options right now. And we plan on discussing those options in further detail tomorrow.
So there is a possibility, I say possibility, that can change.
Yes.
All right, the A and B, is that the water rate charge and the premium service, or?
Yeah, A is 1.5 million and B is 1.8 million, if you remember. And the B is upgrading all the pump stations.
Right, but now, by my way of looking at it, we don't do anything on A, or we take action on A. That 1.5 million's gone in the next 3 years, one way or the other. Because right now, we're not getting the amount of revenue to overcome it. So really, I don't see that as a hard and fast loss. Either way, it's either on the upfront or on the back end. But that money would have left here or not come in here one way or the other. The 1.8 million is where I've got a problem.
Yeah, that's where most people have a problem. To be frank about it. And
I don't think it's anything that can't be worked out.
Excuse me?
I don't think it's anything that can't be worked out.
Oh.
But somebody's going to have to work with somebody a little bit better than they have in the past.
Yeah. Well, they're like Manager Ross was saying, they're having another little meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
And this will be discussed at length. And I think after tomorrow, that's my personal feeling, but after tomorrow, I think we'll know what we got to do with it, one way or other.
Well, I don't want to beat it to death, but as long as you're talking, you're making some headway.
Yeah. Well, at least they know that we got a sticking point with that Exhibit B.
Or they will know.
And, well, they already know.
Okay.
And they're willing to discuss it and see what can be done to alleviate any problem we have with it, and maybe to the point that we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So we just have to wait and see.
That'd be a good turn of events.
But I trust and I think that most people do have a problem with Exhibit B.
Well, Exhibit B.
Do you have a problem with Exhibit B, or are you okay with the thing just like it is?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Now, I do have a problem with Exhibit B. Yeah, I do.
What's your problem?
Well, the problem is we're putting in a lot of booster pumps,
Yes.
To boost them into the future.
True.
In other words, without doing that, we're going to be able to meet the 1095 standard that they're looking for. But we can't do it 10 years from now without Exhibit B. And if we go with Exhibit B, then we're having spend $1.8 million for a system that is primarily for Tellico Village and nobody else. And nothing we've done for anybody else before has been like this.
Is that cost going to be?
At $1.8 million.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to cost us to do it.
Are we going to get that money back in increments?
Oh yeah, we'll get it back over 20 years.
Okay.
They'll pay it back over a 20-year period. It will be paid back, but we're borrowing $1.8 million for them.
Which we're paying for infrastructure.
This is for them and nobody else.
Their payment history on negotiated debt is not the best in the world. As a matter of fact, as soon as it starts hurting them, they tend to look at getting a lawyer to get them out of it if it's cheaper than having to pay it.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay their debts. They are also private. They're not a utility, but yet they're buying water that we're generating under utility rules for the whole country, and they're turning around and privately reselling it through their infrastructure to their community.
That's true.
And they're marking it up substantially. So they're using a public utility to profit in a private business world, and they also got a PPP loan from the government. I'm using that only as the example, as they qualified to get. That's how private they are. They can go in and say, look, employees will be hurt, jobs will be lost, people will be put out. We deserve this money. Well and good, they got it. A lot of people did, and a lot of people need it. But if that had been us, the government would say, what y'all been doing down there in Loudon? So, what have we been doing like we did something wrong, and they're taking our water and selling it for a profit? And they're all okay. So, I mean, you have to remember, we're a utility. They're selling water. There's a difference.
Yeah, well, one good thing that come out of that cost of study is we are now going to be able to get everybody equal, everybody fair, everybody paying the same thing. So that's a good thing.
And that's a good burr out of everybody's throat.
Yeah, it is. It sure is.
1.8.
No.
Well, the
1.8 is entirely separate.
That's a separate
if we went and we paid that 1.8, we would be doing something for them that we're doing for no one else.
And wouldn't even consider doing for anybody else, I don't believe.
So, it's not. From my experience here, we've always made decisions based on the entire lot of what our rules are for our individual customers. And so, we would just be going against that.
Well, hopefully, hopefully in a 2-week period, see, we can discuss this again in 2 weeks. Don't have to vote on it until the end of August. Maybe, if it's ready then, who knows? But as of right now, we can have this discussion right now and then have the meeting tomorrow with TVPOA, and who knows if there are any more meetings, but in 2 weeks we'll be able to discuss it again and share with everybody what come out of that meeting, if not another one, and then we'll know what direction we're headed in.
Well, I'm all for trying to make a deal. But like I said, right now, this deal I don't want to make as it's laying. But let Ty talk to them, come back. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
What they say.
It's premature to make that decision.
They're not going to make a decision until it comes down to the end. That's when they make it.
There's one thing about it, and I think we've all went into this with our eyes open, is the fact that we don't want tax 20 spent. We don't want that.
We do know that.
If there's anything that we can do, we need to protect our organization and still supply them water out there. And I think that's where we're headed right now. And I think starting tomorrow will be the beginning of being able to do that.
I agree.
Anybody else have anything?
Can we have a revision table assigned for internal until this is complete, so we can keep up with the changes and track them? I don't show I have the last one.
I didn't receive one of those either.
I've got one back about a month ago, but I think there was two prior to that I showed. So is there some way to maybe put a revision table on here that says this is what, only internal, then when you get ready to finalize it, we can take the revision table off?
Yeah,
I've tried to track it by emails, but I may have tracked some accidentally or something.
Well, Rec Department, there has not been a revision sent out since last Thursday,
That's the one I don't have.
Right, that has not been generated.
Okay, that's what I was asking for.
That's just been by email, the actual substance has not
Okay,
been.
so I don't have that one anyway. Okay. Well, that probably gets me up to date then, because I was concerned I had lost that
Is
one.
that the one where they wanted A and B to be?
That's right, yeah, that's just by email.
Yeah.
The last version that was distributed to you, I believe they accepted the vast majority of those changes before they got the feedback from their last board meeting. So those changes that came out on Thursday were the result of their board meeting on Wednesday, and those have not been reduced to writing.
Okay. I'm up to date. I want to make sure.
What was the other point on that? They wanted A and B to be added together on penalty, but what was the other sticking point? I thought there was one more. And I can't remember what it was, but there was one more item there.
that's the main thing. I think the other thing is very minor.
Yeah.
It's been a tough nut to crack, and the way we've approached problem solving with this is to have a view that we're one community. That view is easy to adopt from an electric standpoint. We're all one utility, a utility district from an electric standpoint. But in water distribution, we're two separate utilities separated by a river that runs through it. And our goal is to have all our customers contribute equal contribution to the cost of cleansing that water that comes out of the river and making it drinkable. And that's been the common thread through all our talks, and those talks will continue tomorrow.
Do you have anything else for us?
No, sir.
Carly? Tim? Gene? Bart?
No, sir.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
This video presentation is made possible by Brewster Services Group.